Hi guys, welcome to the video on decoding Bhagavad Gita Chapter 5. Now Chapter 5 starts with a verse where Arjuna asks Krishna that there are two paths, which is renunciation, that is omitting of work completely, and performing work but omitting the selfish desire of wanting to work as a whole. Now he asks Krishna to tell him which is definitively better of the two. This is what marks the sound of a better teacher in the form of Krishna, because he asks Arjuna the question of why is there a need of comparison. See, because we human beings generally have a need towards comparison when we are offered two, whether it is we want to pursue a course from two different universities, or whether we want to pursue one particular job from two different companies, or you know what, just let's say it, even if we want to pursue two different partners and choose the one for the rest of our lives. In all scenarios, we feel the need to weigh the pros and cons, the advantages and the disadvantages, and most importantly, the satisfactions and dissatisfactions of a particular path. Now this is what Krishna asks why. Krishna says this with a view of this particular verse in Bhagavad Gita, where he says that path of renunciation as well as renouncing the selfish desire both leads to the same goal, but it depends on how we perceive each path. Now, for example, if a person is capable of renouncing work altogether and can still remain at stable pace and more importantly sane, then such a person can definitely renounce works. But a person who is unable to perform work selflessly, who is selfish by nature and is working only for his or her own satisfaction, then such a person is better off while renouncing work completely. As I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, it is better not to help anybody and cause any disturbance than to help someone, or rather trying to help someone and creating a chaos and turmoil in that said situation. So that is why Krishna says, if you have the ability of being selfless, then more definitely you can choose the path of eliminating selfish nature. Whereas if you have the capability, such as someone like Swami Vivekananda. Now the reason I bring Swami Vivekananda in the path of devotion is he is one of the only few monks or sages or spiritual gurus who actually does some justice to that very profession, because he is the person who not only preached the art, but he practiced what he preached on stage or in front of a camera or in front of a microphone. And that is how he renounced all works. He did not bother about what people think. He did not bother about whether it is monetary beneficial or anything. He felt it was completely satisfactory and clean to his art to renounce all works. Now, sitting back in the 21st century, we can wonder, what work did he actually do? The biggest work he performed was not to do any work at all. And that is what Bhagavad Gita says in terms of knowledge also, where the Bhagavad Gita says true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing at all. Now, that doesn't mean that one is a fool. Performing no acts doesn't mean that one is jobless. Performing every art with detachment, knowing everything with a sense of humility, this is what the Bhagavad Gita calls as divine. Now, if someone is performing an act with no selfish desire in mind, we can have countless examples of that. But again, in this video, I'm going to go with Mahatma Gandhi, and the reason being, he is also one of the people who read the Bhagavad Gita. Now, generally we say that if someone reads the Bhagavad Gita, they go towards a monk life. Now, I gave you two examples here. Swami Vivekananda, who went towards renunciation of works. Mahatma Gandhi had an objective, had a goal in his mind, and he read the Bhagavad Gita and he used the message of what Bhagavad Gita has said and given into his own life, into his own objective and his own very purpose of life. He didn't need to go towards the path that Swami Vivekananda or any other great monk did, as he was clear in the path that he had to choose. No, both these people are successful in their own paths, and they have created a lasting impact in their respective fields, and more importantly have left us asking for more if they had spent more time on this planet. Now that is what the Bhagavad Gita calls true success. It doesn't mean how much of an empire you built upon. After you leave this physical body and you die and leave, what have you left behind for the future generations to come and live in this planet? If you have not done anything, that means you have used the earth's resources, stolen it, and not given anything back. On the other hand, when you use the resources to give something useful to the people, then it is verily divine. Swami Vivekananda did not disturb any resources at all. Mahatma Gandhi used and gave something more bigger to one whole nation. So in both cases, they helped move the wheel of motion that created this universe as a whole. And that is why Bhagavad Gita offers 4 distinct paths on how you can attain eternity. That is Karma Yoga, which we have covered enough in the first 3 chapters, and then Bhakti Yoga, which we would see from chapter 6 to 12, and of course Jnana Yoga, which we would see from 13 to 18, and Raja Yoga, which we will explore in detail in the next episode. Now these 4 paths a wise person sees with an equal eye. They see no difference between one path onto another and feel no superiority between one over the other. And that verily is what the Bhagavad Gita addresses throughout the course of its 18 chapters and 700 verses. Because a person who truly has read the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita would not want to go and help another individual by giving them some physical or mental comfort, but would just probe them by asking more questions where they can realize their true innate potential, where they can solve problems of their life all by themselves. And that is what the Bhagavad Gita says throughout the course of the 5th chapter. 5th chapter is titled as True Renunciation, and in these 2 cases of renouncing works or renouncing selfish desire, it asks you to understand which you want to renounce, but definitely gives you a condition of you have to renounce something in order to attain immortality, and that is not with this physical body, that is mentally after your life with no desires at all. Now this is a wrap towards the 5th chapter, as when we see throughout these verses in the 5th chapter, it runs on the basis of the fundamental elements that are present in chapter 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now when this entire chapter is titled as True Renunciation, it talks about asking to understand and realize the true meaning of renunciation and how we can really achieve it over the course of our lives. Now that's a wrap for this particular episode. I will see you guys in the next episode where we'll be covering the 6th chapter, and until then, it is goodbye, and of course, thank you for watching.